that acts as a bridge between the government and the people, which I think is a bit of missing in Nepal. I think to keep it short to three things. One is keeping the mindset of not writing policy for people we haven't listened to. I think a lot of times people going through a challenge that the government is trying to address often experience the challenge in a different way. I think another thing is focusing on implementation, making sure that we are able to hear and see the outcome of any policy. Sometimes the policy looks good on paper, but there aren't enough infrastructure or the right resources to truly implement it. So focusing on that should also be key, I believe, especially because in a lot of areas, in a lot of places, you have the right policy, but when you go to the local level, there isn't enough resource, there again isn't enough networks or infrastructure. And the last thing is to really close the feedback loop. I think that is very important when it comes to building trust. I think asking one time is consultation, but asking repeatedly, even after the policy is addressed, asking about feedback for the outcome is something that truly closes the feedback loop, truly makes the people feel like they're involved, and that it's not just a policy that was created to put a tick in a box or something that is easily shelved. So definitely closing the feedback loop and connecting with the people, writing policy for people that we have truly listened to, I think can make a big difference.
Thank you so much. Same question goes to Abhushanji.
हजुरहरूको यस वर्षको Miss Nepal World 2026 and happy International Youth Day, everyone. I think the first thing that comes to mind is the concept of inclusion. I think as a society, we often confuse inclusion with diversity and representation. And it always reminds me of a really good metaphor that I think helps us clarify this more. So imagine you're invited to a party and you're happy, but when you're invited to the party, you don't feel comfortable enough to go to the dance floor and dance. Now, this is the difference between diversity, representation, and what truly matters, which is inclusion. Yes, you could be invited, but do you feel comfortable enough to truly participate? I think this is very true, not only in Nepal's context, but truly all over the world. In a lot of places, women are allowed into the room, they are allowed a seat on the table, but a lot of times it's because of a quota system. You're invited, but what you say doesn't really matter. And I think this is very wrong. I think what first needs to change when it comes to the perception we have of young women is also the way we look at them. Why is it when a man is strong, when he is strongly vocal, we see it as powerful, but when a woman does the same, we see it as bossy, as difficult to work with? When a man is soft, we see it as someone who was brought up well, someone who is compassionate, and someone with good values. But when a woman does the same, we see her as too submissive and someone to hold power over. I often ask myself as well, how many Einsteins spend their lives washing dishes simply because they had the misfortune of being born a woman? How many Beethovens did we miss bent over tables instead of pianos? We have always had a great amount of talent, but when we stop half the world, half the country, half the population from receiving the rightful opportunity simply because they are a woman, we truly cannot move forward as a society. And I know we're gathered in this room today because we see a brighter Nepal, we see a stronger Nepal, and that target is not going to be achievable if we hold back half our population just due to their gender. It's very important that in all of these rooms where we see women, and it's true that a lot of rooms we are making progress, you wouldn't see as many women in boardrooms, in governments, in classrooms, in science, in STEM, but we really need to go back and think about whether or not they are comfortable enough to dance, comfortable enough to put their values forward. And it's not just about inviting women to be part of the table, it's about making sure that the table moves when they put their voice forward. I think about something that really touched me when I was in school back in Hong Kong, which is where I grew up, where a lot of conversation and discussion would go around the topic of STEM, about needing more women in science and needing more women in all of these science startups, in CEO offices, but we don't think about equalizing the opportunity in the beginning. And I think this is an important contrast of concept that I want to grasp at today, the difference between equalizing outcome and equalizing opportunity. If we want to see more women succeed, we don't just focus on equalizing outcome. We don't just focus on equalizing opportunity for women in their 30s and 40s, which is very important, but we need to start earlier. We need to equalize opportunity, not just outcome. We need to start early. If we want to see more women in STEM leadership, we need to start by advocating for young girls to pick up STEM in school. And just as this example shows, in every other real-world example, let's not just focus on equalizing outcome at the very end. Let's start at equalizing opportunity at the very beginning and thinking about how we can truly help young girls feel equal, feel seen, and feel comfortable from the very early stages of life, rather than when it comes too late and when we have to resort to things like quota, so that everyone feels, once again, comfortable to dance, to participate, and to put their voices forward.